I'm so happy that you have chosen to check out your breathing, and shortly I'm going to guide you through some very simple checks. Breathing is something we all do every day. In fact, we take about 25,000 breaths on average each day. So it's easy to assume we're doing it right. But what if you're not? What if the way you breathe is actually making you more tired, more stressed, more overwhelmed than you need to be? It's a little bit like when your phone battery, for example, is always draining much faster than it should be, or your Wi-Fi is so slow and glitchy. It's annoying, right? Well, that's exactly what happens when your breathing isn't working efficiently. The thing is, though, we notice when the Wi-Fi is glitchy, but when our breathing is inefficient, it's harder to notice and connect the dots. But the good news is these simple breathing checks can really reveal a lot and really is the first important step to improving how you're breathing, which can change everything. Just like, for example, when you improve or upgrade your phone or improve your Wi-Fi. Believe it or not, breathing isn't just about taking in air and letting it out. It's how your body gets oxygen to your brain, your heart, your muscles, your cells, so that they can all do their jobs properly. If your breathing is off, it's like your body is running on bad Wi-Fi. Everything lags. You feel more tired than you should do. Your exercise feels much harder than it needs to. Your brain struggles. You can't focus. You struggle to think clearly. Creativity dries up. But poor breathing also triggers your stress response. So it can cause you to be in that fight flight mode for far too long. And eventually it becomes a habit, keeping your nervous system stuck in this cycle. And breathing is one of those things I know that we can take for granted, but when it's not working well, it messes with everything: energy, focus, emotions, digestion, sleep, weight, and even how we handle everyday stress. But the good news is, when you assess it, you can fix it if you need to. And when you do, it is like switching from a slow, glitchy connection to high speed Wi Fi. Suddenly, everything feels and just works better. The first assessment we're going to do is a very, very simple one. So just make sure you find yourself in a comfortable position. You can either lie down or you can just sit. Just make sure if you're sitting that you're sitting up straight, just imagining perhaps that there's a string pulling up the top of your head. We just don't want to be compressing the diaphragm, which is that muscle beneath your ribs. And once you're in a comfortable position, just close your eyes. And I just want you to breathe naturally. Now, I know when someone says breathe naturally, it's very, very difficult because you start to think about your breathing, but just try and breathe without trying to control your breathing. Just allow your breath to flow in a really natural way. So just connecting with that and just noticing your breathing. And I just want you to notice, how are you breathing? So are you breathing through your nose? Are you breathing through your mouth? Or are you breathing through a combination of both? Just make a mental note of how you are breathing without changing it at this stage at all. The second thing I'd like you to notice is, can you hear your breathing whilst you're at rest? Can you hear it? Again, just making a mental note about that. And then the next thing we're going to do is, this is an invitation to place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. And then as you're breathing, I just want you to pay attention to which hand moves first. So when you breathe in, does your top hand on your chest rise first? Or is it the hand on your belly, the bottom hand? Or perhaps they move together. Just again, just noticing which moves first. And again, just making a mental note of that. So what we've been checking here and looking at it falls under the umbrella of biomechanics, the mechanical aspect of breathing. So, firstly, I asked you just to notice how you're breathing. Is it through your nose or through your mouth? What we are aiming for is to be breathing through our noses for as much of the day as possible, including the night. Mouth breathing, it causes an awful lot of issues. We're not meant to breathe through our mouths. It can be used if we are running really fast and we need to get some extra air in, but actually our noses are designed for breathing, our mouths are designed for eating. So if you find that you are breathing through your mouth, or you know that you're breathing through your mouth at night, there is definitely room to improve that and make your breathing more efficient. And it can really change how you feel in a very dramatic way when you switch to breathing more through your nose. When we breathe through our mouths, that is a big indication that it's telling your nervous system that you're in a stress state. So switching to nasal breathing is absolutely key. The second thing I asked you was just to notice how you're breathing in terms of, could you hear your breathing? If you found that you were breathing quite heavily, it was quite noisy, or you know that you are a very heavy breather at night, or you snore, this indicates, again, not efficient breathing. This is a sign of dysfunctional breathing. Breathing should be so quiet that you can barely hear, that you can't really hear it, even breathing at night. So again, there is definitely room to improve your breathing. So the third thing I asked you was to do the high-low test. So which hand moves first, the chest hand or the belly hand? And what we are looking for is that the belly hand moves first. The belly, then the ribs expand, and then the chest last. This is a very, very common problem in society these days, is that most people, a lot of people, are breathing just from their chest, thoracic breathing. And this is because a lot of us are very stressed, and when we're stressed, we tend to breathe from the chest. So if your bottom hand was the last to breathe or didn't move at all, last to move or didn't move at all, then again, this can be trained and learned. It's not difficult, and it doesn't take a huge amount of time, but it's really important, because what we want is to make breathing as efficiently as possible so that we're bringing air right down deep into our lungs. If we're breathing from the chest, the air only gets down to a certain point, but it doesn't get right down. So we don't utilize all that air. It doesn't help with gas exchange as well as it could do. Please don't worry if you are thinking, oh my gosh, all of those things shows that I'm an inefficient breather. Don't worry, because there are definitely things that you can do. But the good thing is that now you have an awareness around it. Okay, the next check that we're going to do is to check your breath rate. So this is a very simple check. You will need something to time. So a timer on your phone would be great. Have that to hand. A breath cycle, a full breath cycle, is an inhale and an exhale. Again, I'm going to ask you to try and not change your breathing. I know that's hard, but we want you to breathe in the normal way as possible, so you get an honest reflection of how you're breathing. So when you're ready to hit the go on your timer, what we're going to do is just count every inhale and exhale. So that counts as one cycle, one breath. And I want you to count as many breaths that you take in 30 seconds. So when we get the results, we'll then double it to get your breath rate. How many breaths do you take in 1 minute? So whenever you're ready now, just breathing normally, start your timer and count how many full breath cycles do you take in 30 seconds, and then you can double it. Or if you prefer, you can do it for a whole minute. Okay, so hopefully you have done the breath rate check now. So whatever you got, that is telling us how fast you are breathing, how many breaths you take per minute. Now, the expected and the sort of normal range of breath rate is between 12 and 18. So if you fall within that, great. Now, if you didn't fall within that, please don't worry. I was much more than 18 when I did this for the first time. That just means if your breath rate's higher, that obviously might mean that you're in quite a stressed state, you're breathing high up from your chest. So what we want to try and do is really bring that breath rate down. And again, we can do that through different breath exercises to slow the breath down, because when we slow the breath down, breathing becomes so much more efficient. We can use that oxygen better, and it gets spread to all the places it needs to get taken to, and ultimately really affects how we feel. We're going to test your BOLT score. Now, the BOLT stands for Body Oxygen Level Test, is a simple and effective assessment that measures your sensitivity to air hunger and overall breathing efficiency. So this is really kind of more of a biochemistry of breathing. It was developed by Patrick McEwen and inspired by the Buteyko breathing method. This test helps you understand how well your body tolerates carbon dioxide and how efficiently you breathe. So what you're going to do is, after just a few minutes of normal breathing, you're going to take a natural exhale, not a forced exhale. So when we're breathing normally, you'll just notice you breathe in, you breathe out, and at the end of the exhale, that is when you're going to hold your breath. You can pinch your nose or just hold your breath, and you're going to start the timer as soon as you hold that breath. I want you to stay relaxed and just focus on holding your breath without any strain at all. What you're aiming for is that first urge to breathe, not holding your breath for as long as possible. That's not what we're aiming for here. This test ends at the first clear signal from your body that you need to breathe. So this can include, for example, a psychological urge to breathe, so that feeling of air hunger. It might be a physical movement, such as a tightening in your neck or your diaphragm. It might be a swallow or any other indication of needing air. If you get any of those sensations, stop the timer immediately at this point and then just resume breathing normally. I just want to reiterate, this is not a test of endurance, but it's a measure of your sensitivity to air hunger. So your goal is to identify that first urge to breathe. So whenever you're ready, just breathing normally, have your timer to hand. And we just take a couple of just normal breaths in and out to start with. So just taking a breath in, breath out, breath in, breath out. And on the next one, I'm going to take a breath in, normal breath out. And on the exhale, press that timer, hold your breath. Whenever that first urge to breathe comes, stop the timer and record how long you managed. Okay, here is how to interpret your results. So if you had a score which is less than 25 seconds, this does indicate a heightened sensitivity to that feeling of air hunger and also a reduced carbon dioxide tolerance. So people with scores in this range, and mine when I first did this was 9, by the way, so please don't worry if it's in this range. But people with scores in this range may tend to overbreathe, especially during stress or physical activity, and also really probably experience anxiety, fatigue, maybe shortness of breath. If you scored within the range of 25 and 40 seconds, this does reflect good carbon dioxide tolerance and good functional breathing patterns. You're breathing efficiently, your body has a healthy response to carbon dioxide, so that's all good. If you had a score of over 40 seconds, well, this score suggests excellent carbon dioxide tolerance and extremely efficient breathing patterns. Your respiratory system is highly efficient and you have a strong ability to manage your breath during physical exercise or also stress. So to improve this score, if your score is under 25 seconds, please, as I said, don't be discouraged. Many people start with low scores. And with regular practice of breathing exercises, you really can improve. So when we incorporate breath work exercises, I like to call them prescriptions, and focus on controlled, slow, gentle breathing, expansive breathing, you really can increase your carbon dioxide tolerance and your breathing efficiency and your air hunger tolerance. And with time, you will notice improvements in your stress resilience, in your physical performance, and your overall well-being. So, what are your next steps? Now, if you have done these checks and feel and realized and discovered that your breathing isn't as efficient as it could be. Some people, by the way, call this dysfunctional breathing. I don't like the word dysfunctional because actually it's more about the efficiency. There's nothing wrong with you. It's just that you've developed a breathing behavior, a breathing pattern that isn't serving you well and can be triggering off a lot of other unhelpful things such as poor sleep, racing mind, all the things I've talked about in these videos. So the best thing to do from now is to start with a breath practice, because this can actually help to retrain your brain and your body and your breathing to become much, much more efficient. Like any new behavior, it takes time, but a little bit of practice, 10 minutes every day, is all you need. So if you feel that this is something that you would really like to do, I have a mini course which will help you to learn how to breathe properly using the correct breathing mechanics. I will help you to increase that bolt score, decrease that breathing rate, and make sure that you have breathing from the belly, not from the chest. And it affects how you feel on so many different levels. So if you're up for that, please do sign up for that course. You will receive an email with the details. And I really look forward to hearing from you. As always, if you have any questions whatsoever about any of this, please do get in touch with me.